All right, we are now live. We're just waiting for a few more to come in and we'll get everybody updated. So the only one we're waiting on is Scott. Can you call Scott real quick and see if he's doing a link?
Yes,
Or?
my in-laws.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that. That's why I put some information on a trust in here.
Yeah. Oh, good. That always works.
Okay, this is my son being cornball. My son, the pastor.
I would think, but I'm good with that because you have to have fun.
He's so weird.
You gotta have fun in life.
So is Jacob ready?
Yeah, well, they gotta go to camp next week. He leaves on Monday for 4 days for camp. Yeah, he's
I don't know about that.
he's a little excited, but then he's just kind of like,
Where are they going to NAU?
no, they go up to Snowflake.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they practice
Wow.
4 days, 4 times a day for
Is
4 days.
he liking them out there? Because Dylan was first, I guess. Brayden was saying that Dylan was it too.
The football, the kids are good. So
How old is your son?
he's gonna be a freshman. All right, good. Okay. She may or may not be able to come. Okay. Well, I'm just want to make sure that Scott, because usually he joins and.
So you're busy with the DB going, huh?
Oh yeah. It's not that I don't end up doing most of that. Anyway, we always take turns, so.
I want to spend, if you've got some time, spend a few minutes going over the CMA that I did for George last night. I showed 5 homes.
Cool.
And he liked the last one. He says, I wonder what the market looks like for that. And I says, I'll have something, work it up and get back to you on it. And so I worked it up last night and did not want to send it to him without
just double checking it. Yeah, no problem. I have no problems doing that. We had I had an interesting weekend showing properties. So one of these, found my client a property, but she's trying to move down from Prescott Valley, and so doing some work, and she went to leave after we were doing this to go to her sister's house to stay, and then we wrote her contracts and everything, and she left her purse on top of her car.
What?
And she got to her sister's house, which is just down the road. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't find my purse, but luckily we found it.
everything in it.
Minus the cash. So I'm sure.
Somebody had gotten to
Yeah.
it fast.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, at least they didn't take credit cards.
That's exactly right.
License and
So
everything else.
that's what she said. So hindsight, it was okay. You know, I lost my cash, but luckily that my client she had gotten her cell phone out of her purse, and she was just kind of in a hurry to get to her sister's house, and she had left her purse atop the car, pulled out, and it fell. And you know, there's always people walking up and down here, so
Oh, and it was right out
unfortunately,
here?
yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
So they got their cash, but you know, she got all her credit cards,
Yeah.
bank card. They didn't access anything,
Yeah.
so she was feeling
I'd
good
be
about
happy.
that.
I would.
That's what she said. She's like, I'm good. Just don't make me do all this.
Much in there, but, you know, still.
And I have all kind of birthday cash in my purse thinking, oh, I better not.
Yeah, you go. Wait a second.
You're like, what?
He's so excited because we're going to be in Vegas. Not this weekend, but the next weekend.
Who's that?
We're going to be in Vegas. So Kaino is so excited because he wants to spend all of his birthday cash in Vegas.
Nice. He's
He's
like,
like, Mom, tell everyone I want cash for my birthday.
all right, cool. All right, I'm gonna grab a quick sandwich when Tina comes in, and then just double check with Joyce if she's coming over here because I don't know we're gonna stay on.
Thanks for that.
Oh, you're doing the micro foods?
Yep.
I want to get back. I want to get back to doing those. I was doing them for a while. It was just hard to get Scottsdale to pick them up.
Yeah, I go to the Tatum and Shea one.
Yeah.
So
I'm like,
that's why I have to go pick up after all this. So. But yeah, I do
They're
that
good,
twice a
though.
week. Yes, very good.
Sorry, Tina. My big old feet fall hopping around.
Tiny things.
All right, so are you good to work and learn,
Yep.
eat, do all that? Scott hasn't joined us yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. So for our Monday training, this is going to kind of encapsulate both listings and buyers on here. We tried to set this up a couple months ago when we were doing all the buyer training, and it just didn't work out with everybody's schedule. Even for agents that have been doing this a long time, the hardest part is knowing what you're supposed to look like and what happens on the escrow end. Because generally, we'll put something on the contract, we give it to the escrow officer, we do all of our inspections, we go through all the contract, but there's that whole section in 3 where it describes what the title company does, what they're supposed to do during escrow, and we have no clue. And that's generally because you have great escrow officers like Kendra that make sure you don't have to stress about it. However, you don't always get to use your favorite escrow officer. And escrow officers vary just like agents vary in their degree of knowledge. Perfect. And then and what they communicate, I think, is the biggest thing. Some escrow officers rely on you to discover issues and present it to your clients. Other escrow officers are very good at alerting you, hey, this is going to be an issue. We need to do that. But a lot of us don't know what to look for when those come through. So I asked Kendra to come here, one, to go through what escrow is and to go through that, and also go through a preliminary title report. Because even Tina, who's been, how long have you had your license now?
Since 2000.
So, yeah, we're talking almost 15 years now. Do you know how to read what the Section B, Section A, the exceptions and what you're looking for?
No.
And I guarantee you there's so many agents out there that don't know this. I like to pull them on listings too before you take a listing. I'm really big on, hey, we're going to take a listing, get the title report. I'll call Kendra. She's done it for me. I don't know how many times. I need a title report on this. We had a short sale. Our office had a short sale. And unfortunately, Matt couldn't be here today, but we had one where before we even took the short sale, we found bankruptcy, divorce, another bankruptcy. We were able, so we knew what we were going into, how much of a headache we were going to have to do, and we were able to point blank ask the sellers, listen, this is what it says. And in the process, they had gotten back together, and then the year that it took us to do the short sale, they were going back apart. So and those relationship things have a lot to do what happens in escrow and how it affects us and how we take title. And then just another example here, and I'm going to give this because you're with George and Sun City. when Tina had her in-laws were buying a house in Sun City, one of the big things I told her, they were looking at putting it in a trust. Well, if you've got a buyer that's going to do that, you should do that in the purchase and do it right away. Because every time in Sun City that you have to change the title on that, hold on, Scott's trying to join us. No, you would do this to me.
So you can order a title report before the
Yes.
whole process? Oh, okay.
So once you initiate that you're going to take a listing, even you can contact me beforehand that you're going to a listing appointment. I can order a prelim on listing in that time because, but I can order liens against the property.
Okay.
So that when you go into that listing appointment, you kind of have a little bit of familiarity with what they have. So a lot of times Jerry and John will both email me and say, hey, here's the property address. Can you just pull any liens or judgments? So I'll just email title and they pull that. There's two, they'll send me over 2 deeds. And I'll be like, okay, at this time we don't see any judgments, but that could change, of course.
Right.
Based on information, but we do a general GI search on the seller of the property to see if we see any liens or judgments that potentially could
What's a
have
GI report?
general events. It's like basically it pulls up any information of public record or that notified us of judgments or liens against that homeowner. Yeah, so definitely. And then on listings, it's great to do beforehand because unfortunately, a lot of times when people have gone through short sale process or filed bankruptcy, they don't always know. When they file a bankruptcy, a lot of times they think that that second lien has fallen off the property. And that's actually not an accurate statement. They may file bankruptcy, but in the filing of bankruptcy, that is still a recorded lien against the property. So it is still a lien. So we still have to negotiate that. Well, our short sale department still has to negotiate that along with the first lien holder. Because attorneys will tell you all day long, oh, it's charged off.
And it's never.
The only time that I've run across it recently, we just had one in our office. I'll just give you an example. Bankruptcy. There was a bankruptcy, and the judge signed off on orders to have it released from the property. And the way the wording was from the judge, we were able to submit that to title, and title was actually able to remove it. Does that happen very often? No. Typically never. So it's like so you always want to see. That's one thing, like especially during short sales. Now I'm going to start asking for bankruptcy paperwork.
Yes.
Submit to my title officer as well if I know that there's a bankruptcy involved. So
we're close. Scott's dialing in. I'm just trying to make sure he gets on this one so that we have our live feed. Then we'll turn it loose to Kendra. But as she was saying, with those are the key things, is knowing what liens you got to deal with on there. And then especially like the divorce situations, because they'll show if the divorce has been filed and there's a deed changing or a divorce decree, and you're able to go, do we have everybody that needs to sign? Because another good example, and we'll go through a lot of these, is that I had a client that had a divorce from well, you're not showing on the picture. But they had done the divorce, and when we went to sell it, the divorce decree said the husband got to keep the property. So we thought we were going to have to negotiate and pay her off to get her to sign. But it turned out with the divorce decree, she got the divorce paperwork, we were able to get that all done and be good to go.
yeah, so if you ever unfortunately have to go through divorce, make sure the legal description and property address is in that divorce decree, because that's the only way it's viable.
Yes. And a lot of them
Well, I'm
don't.
glad on it, so.
So even the ATM number or something referencing other than just the address just gives it more to go on. It's more viable source, obviously, for them not to come back with recourse.
Mine is dead to his heart, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing. Let the drug be
I hope he's not planning on going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it over. Joyce will join us when she can from right around the corner on that. But I'm gonna go ahead now turn it over to you, Kendra.
Okay.
And you get to start.
Great.
Yay, aren't you excited? Everybody, Kendra.
Hi, I'm Kendra Cesena. I'm a senior escrow officer with First Arizona Title. I have been doing escrow and title this is going on 15 years.
15. Wow.
And then previous to this, I was actually a right-of-way agent for a small company in Colorado, and I did land acquisition for Kendra Morgan Gas Company and cell site towers for AT&T. So I have some land background that goes along with my expertise. I wanted to go over basically Title 101 with you guys today. And what is title insurance? Do you guys know why it's important to have title insurance?
It protects, basically the title, right, of the property. And if there's anything that, I guess, goes wrong during that process, during the whole, it insures it.
Yeah.
But
You're right on. It's exactly. It also protects from previous owners. So in the event that you were to purchase a home and say that there was an easement done previously that was never a record or something was wrong, it was in the wrong area of your property, there is sometimes recourse for you to go back, and if it was previously insured prior to your purchase, you have recourse to sometimes go back to that previous title company. Because that's what a warranty deed does. A warranty deed actually facilitates them warranting against the property from the time of building the property.
Okay, but you're protecting the buyer.
Protecting the buyer.
Why does the seller also have to pay for title insurance when they're selling?
Because the seller is verifying that they are free of liens and encumbrances. So the seller is providing proof to that buyer.
But that's being done with the title insurance that was just bought by the buyer.
Yeah. No, the title insurance, a lender's policy is different than an owner's title insurance policy.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
There's got to be some justification for the extra charge, right?
But each state is different, actually. In some states, the buyer does pay for it. Arizona is a state where the seller does. So
So it pays for his own, the buyer pays for his own.
Yeah. So each state is different. But Arizona is a state where the seller pays for their own. Yeah. So basically, so the escrow process is once you open escrow, that's when we initiate, obviously, the ordering of prelim or even beforehand.
But the process to do the search, to verify that the title is clear, is relatively the same for both, isn't it? Because it's on the property, it's not on the seller.
No, actually, the buyer's insurance is completely different. That's insuring the lender in a certain lien position. So a lender's title policy is different from an owner's title insurance policy. So yeah, an owner's title insurance policy is basically verifying that liens, encumbrances, judgments, that type of stuff is not transferred over on the property when the buyer takes possession of it. So a lender's policy, which is what the buyer pays for, is ensuring that the lender has all the qualifications they require for their loan policy, and it also is ensuring that the lender is in first position. So no other liens can go above them.
So you're paying to protect the lender.
Yeah. Which is part of the they require that in your loan. That's part of the
Like just like an owner's title insurance policy, that's in your contract. That's part of.
What about if you're paying cash for a piece of property and the lender's not even involved?
No, that's what those lender's policy is required. So then when it's a cash transaction, the only thing on there is the owner's title insurance policy. So
what protects the buyer?
the owner's title insurance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
that way if something came back.
The Alta lender policy just basically protects the lender. So the lender's policy is just basically protecting
I just never understood total differences between the two. So thank you.
No, you're very welcome.
And this is pretty much why I wanted to have this class, because I don't care how long you've been in it. Most people don't even understand that. And trying to explain it to their client.
yeah, tried to say this is why you have to do that. It's, very confusing. So I put a little escrow and title insurance memo in here so you can, just a quick reference for you to be able to keep. And, it's simply stated, it's title, the title to a piece of property is the evidence the owner is in lawful possession of that property. So a lot of times you'll see quit claim deeds done, and sometimes those are not done accurately. So that's another reason why you want to try and order your title insurance before a listing. I just had one recently that it was a divorce situation. The husband had quit claim to his property over to the wife before heading to Mexico. So now he never, because of some items that were on the property and the way things are done, she doesn't hold lawful title. So, and he has to sign an additional document. Nobody can find him. So now she is not able to continue to sell her property at this time. And so she may have to go through quiet title action.
And then you also have issues with that your seller then would be in breach and could be legally brought up and sued to make the force of sale, which could cost him even more on that.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was not able to locate him at all. And he has to, the way the deed was done, he has to basically sign a new deed.
And you can do a forced sale like that?
Well, you can't. That's why you want to know it. That's why you would pull it before you take the listing, just to know what's going on.
Just to know what's going on. So,
that's terrible.
But it is so common
it is.
that the divorce ratio is 50% right now, and most of us out there. And unfortunately, not everybody has attorneys. Not everybody does it the way you're supposed to. And you get a lot of do-it-yourself people, and they'll mess up that quit claim deed and mess up yourself.
Same with investors that were doing a lot of purchases when we had our down market. A lot of those investors were not going through title companies, and they were just conveying to other LLCs. Well, that's another issue I'm starting to see now is we have to verify that there's no liens or that money was exchanged hands for those transactions, and trying to go back and find those other LLCs that are now dissolved for other issues. So you don't think of all this small stuff that.
And us as agents, we never deal with, and this is why the escrow officer is so important out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, Kendra worked hard to get our business, but she does do a good, thorough job of making sure you don't have that headache.
No.
Trying not to.
Yeah, I don't like the headache. I don't want you guys to have it either.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to preview. I think it's my last one. I'm just going to give you examples. Actually, second to last, there is a little packet. And it looks like this on the front. Okay, it's the other one, that one. So I want to show you a example of a nasty pre-run. One that you want to run from. So this one, so Schedule A is basically pertaining to, and this one there's a loan. So it kind of gives you the effective date, which this one was obviously a while ago. But it also gives you the type of policies. So in this instance, it's a Alta homeowners policy, which is required by your contract for the seller to provide to the buyer. And then in this instance, there's a loan. So it's letting you know that there's an extended loan policy and the amount of the proposed loan. Proposed insured C is only if there's going to be a second loan. Which I'm starting to see again.
Yeah.
They're starting to come around, and I'm starting to see,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I closed 2 this year already. So I'm like, wow.
We're going to see more of that too.
Owner will carry.
No.
Isn't that how
You almost get the age. Yes, it is. And as Jason mentioned in our meeting on last week, because of the substandard, there's no non-standard market anymore. But you still have a lot of first-time home buyers who do not have 20% down. So there's still that need. And when you're dealing with economic supply and demand, well, the bank's job is to loan money to make the interest. That's what they do. They're going to figure out a way to do it. And you're even seeing FHA cave in on that.
Yeah.
So you're going to see 100% financing again but you'll have some definite rules and
Yeah.
things like that. It'll be a little bit more restrictive, but you're definitely going to see that product back.
Yeah.
And that would be something you're looking for on your title report.
On your title report. The estate or interest in the land described here and the commitment is fees. So basically, it's just saying it's a fee title. It's not really relevant to anything you're looking for. And 5 is basically our Exhibit A, which is something you always want to look at.
Yep.
So, and I'll go to that one, but next, I'll just kind of go over that. That's actually our next page. So I blocked out the lot number on this one, but you want to verify your lot and your subdivision. When you get this title prelim, you're looking at as well as for accuracy, because we look at the contract and we look at the previous deeds, and that's how we get our information. Well, I just had a contract where the agent spelled the buyer's name completely wrong on the contract. And so the lender had to contact me to make the corrections, and we then had to do an addendum as well for the contract. But I wouldn't have had a clue because I was going off what I was provided.
So we want to verify the lot and what else?
Yeah, and which
Lot.
number and just the subdivision.
Okay.
Just kind of as a rule of thumb, just kind of look. It's not that you have to verify every time for accuracy, but if you're, which should be reviewing this, if you're reviewing it,
You better be reviewing. This is why we're having this class, because we have agents that don't review these, and I'm telling you, this will save you so much headache. John and I's favorite saying is that real estate's all about the 11th hour. Everything goes bad at the 11th hour. Everything falls up, and it's everything's a panic and a rush.
It's done anyway.
Well, generally, and you do have so many do that. But what I think sets good agents out apart from other agents, and why we teach this, and this is something that John and I do not have a lot of 11th hour stuff. I mean, there's stuff that comes up, but it's the same stuff that comes up with everybody. And part of it's reviewing this, and you get this within the 10-day inspection period for your buyer and your seller.
And it gets sent to both parties as well.
And so you want to make sure, like I said, simple as when you look at your tax records, when you wrote out your legal description, did you put the lot numbers that match up, everything good?
Yeah. Well, because also you have to remember, sometimes if you put a name down in a contract, if we're pulling from the assessor, they could have multiple properties.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had it where people just write in seller.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of putting the actual seller's name in there, they're not completing all the information. They'll leave out the APN number on the contract. So sometimes it's a little guessing game with escrow, and we're like, let us try this again. Okay, so this is going to be an important page for you. This is going to be your requirements page. And I want to give you one that is a file that you kind of want to run from. So,
in requirements, just so you understand from an insurance standpoint, these are things that have to happen before a policy can be issued. So you cannot close if you cannot take care of all these issues. So when you think of requirements, those are the things that you have to have done. And generally most of it's done anyway as part of the contract, but these things have to be done before title can be recorded and conveyed over to the other party.
Correct. I cannot close on a property until I have everything cleared or to come. I can use to-come items like on payoffs because I know that I'm paying them in escrow. But if I can't get a hold of the lender to pay off the lien and the seller's not providing the information to do that, then basically they're in breach of their contract at that point because they're not facilitating what they need to help us close the transaction. So this one is just a prime example of, so 1 through 3 are basically not things that you need to worry about. Those are more on my end of items paid in taxes and additional fees, sometimes HOAs in that area as well. And it's just stuff to alert me. The ones I'm wanting to teach you to look at are number 5 and number 6.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is obviously an internal revenue lien. So the gentleman who owns this property has a federal tax lien against him. Red flag. And they can be cleared in a short sale transaction. They take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
An additional, you want to say at least 30 to 60 days minimum. But it can be done, and the IRS will release the property from, basically they'll do a partial release.
Yeah.
And release the property from and let you continue.
They're hard to do, but they can be done.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to know that you have to deal with this right away.
Yeah, that's like, it's important because you have to know. And if you're taking a listing and you see this, you want to say,
Let's start working. What's going on?
Yeah, or have you taken care of this? Is this something that you have paperwork for? I had one where the gentleman, the IRS, he paid it, was able to provide proof, and they released it right on that instant. But he'd never followed up to make sure that they'd released it, and he paid it off 5 years prior. So luckily, he was a paperwork kind of guy and kept everything that he needed.
Love paperwork guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Those are good guys.
Yeah. So just something.
And I'm going to tell you, percentage-wise, of your clients, it's less than 10%. So 90% of your clients are not paperwork people.
No, not at all. So the next one is a judgment that he has against him, which in looking at the creditor, I'm seeing that it's an American Express travel related, so it's a credit card. Let me tell you something.
Dang, that's a big amount.
So now, if this was the seller, and this is his primary residence, and we weren't messing with the tax lien, ignore that, and it was just this judgment that showed up, and he was able to provide a driver's license and able to provide me a utility bill, we could do what we call a homestead affidavit.
Yes.
Which, if it's under $150,000, will allow us to close on the house. And he's homesteading, basically taking
Come on in, Joyce.
Like it's kind of like a partial release. And he's stating that this is
if you want to grab some sandwiches real quick.
this is my primary residence. So that way they don't take the money, and neither do they. That he still gets his full profit.
And where does American Express go?
It goes on whatever else.
So it's on their bad debt line?
Yeah. And the Homestead Act was made to protect people from creditors being able to take their properties and
So that they were able to provide housing.
so you didn't lose your housing.
If he uses that for $56,000 at that point, does he now in the future only have less than $150,000?
No.
You can use it on any primary residence.
But he is primary.
Primary.
But he's
So
gonna
he
have a
pays.
hell of a time trying to buy
Well,
another house.
if he
He's
pays
gonna have
cash-
his record.
If he pays cash over and over on a property,
I'll never be able to get it.
they would never get him. Yeah. So he'd be able to do it multiple times.
But
Yeah.
But the property has to be no more than 150,000, right?
No, their proceeds.
Equity.
Yeah, their proceeds back no more than 150,000.
Oh.
so much making on that.
Yeah. So he can't make more than 150,000 on that sale.
So if he had 200,000, then they would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then
Yeah, we have to pay that off.
he wouldn't qualify. We'd have to pay that debt off.
Wait, catch Joyce
Yeah.
up here real
Okay.
quick.
Hi,
Joyce,
Joyce.
this is Kendra from First
Thank
Arizona
you.
Title.
Nice to meet you.
We're going through basically title reports and escrow, so you guys know what they do. Which you probably are a little better standpoint just because you deal with a lot of legal documents, and standpoint from that you do it. But one of the things that we're going through is the preliminary title report, because like Kendra said, this is where your clues are. Now let's go back to this lien that she was just talking about here on that in your net sheet. So let's say you figured out your mortgage payoff is on, let's say this is a $300,000 sale, or whatever we're at. We're at $300,000 sale, and we owe $50,000 here, and they have a $250,000 payoff balance. Can you sell this property? You're already $6,000 upside down. So, could you see why you want to do this on a listing? Because why spend all your money listing a property that you go, did you even know about this?
And that happens more than
What? And then they don't want to be honest with you. So,
and that happens. I have one right now that's a for sale by owner, unfortunately, and it was a family friend that wants to buy from the people. Well, they have a lien on their property that they knew about. It's going to get a trustee sale. So they're like, okay, we'll buy it for this amount, pay it. Little did they know that they have a second lien for another $40,000 that the people didn't even realize, that the husband didn't realize they had.
it's always they don't realize.
They
But,
didn't realize it.
but like I said, especially if you're going to do, yeah, exactly. Especially if you're going to do short sales. If you're dealing with short sales, you want to know all these up front.
Don't want to do business with relative, right?
No, well, it's still hard because you have arm length. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. But these, and what's nice about these are very obvious when you get there.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Well, and if I see stuff like this, I'll try and point that out. If I'm just seeing my normal stuff that I know from Clear, if I'm looking at the prelim and I see these two items pop up,
Yeah.
I would put an email saying, Please look at requirement number 5 and 6, and let me know once you've spoken to your seller if these are in fact theirs.
Second page. Yeah, and it may not be.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing that I've noticed, and like I said, I love Kendra because Kendra's on top of everything, and she would let you know that. I have been in other ones where I get this, and the escrow officer doesn't say anything. I'm calling the escrow officer going, hey, did you see this tax lien and this? Well, yeah, but we're not sure if this belongs to them yet or not.
Well,
You
what do you
put
need?
this on here. What do we got to do? Because there are issues with they'll send these out initially. These are the prelim, and they'll send it out. And let's say you have a John Smith. There are a lot of John Smiths out there, and sometimes there's a John P. Smith, and there's like 8 of them.
So that's one thing I'm gonna like as a suggestion to you for when you're opening title. If you see that your seller or your buyer has a very common name like that, provide us the contact information right away. Always fill out on the contract with their address because HOA requests that when we're ordering stuff, and it helps us to send documents to your buyer as well. But one thing is, if you have an email address or phone number, so that if stuff does come up for both buyer and seller, that we can contact them directly to get the last 4 of their social security number, because then title will sometimes be working on that prelim and contacts right away. If you happen to have the last 4, I can out 5 things right now.
Yeah. And this is what you want to explain to your clients, that because everybody will go, I'm going to get my last 4 of my social. What do you need that? You're just a realtor.
Yeah. And so
but you're going, hey, I always tell them I'm the manager. I'm managing this for you. And by doing that, I'm going to save us some time. And, we always know Smith, Jones, those are always common last names, but what are some common last names you could think of here in Arizona?
Rodriguez.
How about Sanchez?
Gonzalez,
Gutierrez. You have to be on top of those because, and again,
Ling. There's a lot of.
Yeah, Ling. Yeah.
Ethnic Joneses.
Yeah, and that's just it. And and there's a lot of Maria Gutierrez's, and you have to be on top of that because you don't want to have a wrong one that they come up here and you go to your client and say, you have this $13,000 lien.
If you look here, I whited it out, but it gave the last 4 of his social on each of this. So on this document, if I would have had the last 4, I whited out where the X's are. If I would have had his social security number at that point, I could have right away determined that this wasn't indeed the party. And that's why I always ask for it, because a lot of times I know the buyer and seller don't like to provide it to you guys, but they'll give it to us. If we have that contact information, then that saves us, by the time they get their packets back, sometimes 2 weeks. So if we have contact information, we can contact them within 24 hours versus 10 days.
So I'm not always the best on that, so do better on that one.
I'm training sometimes. I'm still training on that. This one, and so here's some additional items you'll see on this guy. He had another internal revenue lien. He had a City of Phoenix lien. Oh, I didn't write out his name, so please ignore.
Yeah.
I missed that yesterday. He has another internal revenue lien, a Department of Justice for Constitution, for criminal restitution. So there's multiple items, and then it goes on.
Yeah. So
just saying.
Wow.
So this is and you go.
This
So
is all on one guy.
yeah, and
And hit the social match.
I told her to find me a good one.
The social matched.
Oh man, that's not good.
So it was the guy.
Well, and here's the thing, though. So obviously we're dealing based on, and I'm just going to jump back. If you go back to that first page here on this, you should have a copy on the bottom. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Last one.
Yep.
So you go to that first page there, the head page. You're looking at basically a homeowner's purchase price of $625,000. So you're dealing with what most of us would classify in the price range that we're excited to deal with, right? $625,000. We're not dealing with a $100,000 property or $150,000 sale. We're dealing with, dang.
Yeah. This is
somebody real
condition.
quick, 3% off $600,000. I'm all in it. You got me happy. Now, this is where escrow comes in and going, listen, this type of sales price is not above issues. And it could be just as simple as he had a failed business. He had all sorts. I mean, the economy collapsed. You're going to have a lot of people from '08 to 10 that have issues. Yeah. And like I said, I wish Michelle was here on this because she was asking me on her last few deals. It's like, man, I really don't understand how to read it. What's nice, these are big and obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, and this isn't typical. I mean,
this is atypical.
I get I get a couple of these a year that are this bad. Typically, they're gonna be like,
You're going to have one little line,
Yeah.
and you're going to go, oh, is that what I got to look at?
yeah.
So one of the things that I start doing, we have a $625,000 purchase price. So I start adding up here, 6,713. I'm at 20,000. Let's come down here, 56. I'm at 76,000. Oh, 188. So now I'm at 60,000.
Oh, you're adding up
Yeah.
everything?
Oh yeah, because how much is he gonna make? I'm at 270. I'm almost at 300 right there, and then
Bam.
And then bam.
and then bam, when you flap over. And now I'll go ahead and let you hit on number 11.
Yeah.
These are the ones you got to be careful because it says 975,000, but this is a previous mortgage, right?
Yes. And if you also look, it was done in 2005.
Right.
We're now in 2014, obviously. So I would question that if that's a legitimate lien.
Right.
Because I looked to see that Fidelity insured this one. And then I looked down here to see if there's any other like new deeds of trust. So I see there's one for 1.4 right here on 2006.
Which
So
more likely
probably
replaced that one.
paid this one off for $975. So I have to go back to Fidelity and request an indemnity, and then that gets removed. So just one of the
And again, you'll get these where it was the original amount that was recorded. And if you've had somebody that's owned the property for 25 years, they may not owe anything on that.
which
So that's where the payoff statement comes in. But this alerts you that you're going, hey, so you're going, okay, this 1.4 probably took the place of that. That's what I'd be thinking. So now I'm at 1.4 and I only have a $700,000 purchase price, and I just figured out I need $300,000 additional. Probably not going to sell this property.
unless I do it as a short. And
Yes.
so, yeah.
So if you're a new agent and you have no clue what you're doing, can I just
Oh
come
my
in and talk
gosh.
to you? Can
Yes.
I sit with you?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's where a good thing was with the phone conversation. But why I wanted to bring Kendra in, because Kendra is very friendly like that. She doesn't care. I've called her at 6 o'clock on her cell phone going, Kendra, I'm just now getting to this. What the heck? Oh, wait, I remember that one. I knew you would be calling me. But you'll get other escrow officers with other title companies that won't even call you back. They just, no, that's your job. I sent you the info. And unfortunately, a lot of escrow officers aren't very good communicators. There's a lot of escrow officers that are really good at doing this, but they don't communicate as well as they should. And so I've had some, when you're questioning them, they get really sensitive. You're like, I'm not questioning you. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. You may be very well enough.
What do we need to do to correct it?
And so when your Schedule B is your key function, and like I said, this is fun because, oh my gosh, you flip the page and it just keeps going.
It just
Yeah.
keeps going.
You get one of these, don't, that's you come to me, go, this is a short sell, and then we got to determine, do we like this guy, because you're now invested in at least 6 to 8 months with this much stuff
Yeah.
of trying to get everything released.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to make sure you really like the person.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's why definitely ask before you go for a listing. Send me an email.
Yes.
Say do a quick lien search so that we can look and see if this is going to come up or if it's going to be 2 or 1. And then when you go into your listing presentation,
Yes.
you have your knowledge of power because you at least have a little backup.
And they won't feel like, wow, you were already digging into my.
Yeah, no.
It might, but hey, that's part of the business. It shows you're doing your job.
Exactly. I say, here's the difference. And I'm going back to this one, Matt, because it's the first one I was teaching him on, and we did a short sale on it. And like I said, it literally took a year. But when we sat down in that appointment, I'm able to go through my Schedule B's and go, all right, I need to kind of get some information on this, this, and this. And they're going, wow, you already did all this? And I said, and I go, well, my job here is to help you. And I have to know where I got to help you. I would rather be figuring this out while we're getting a contract and trying to get this resolved before we get to the last minute and we lose a whole buyer and we waste 4 months of your time because you got foreclosures coming, everything else. So when you're doing short sales, it's easy. Now, when you're doing a regular sale, you ask it. It's kind of what we went over last week with the evaluating listing, and we're going to try to put that into another one-day event for people that couldn't be here. But you treat it like you're an attorney or a doctor. Would you sit in front of your doctor and they say, well, tell me what's wrong, Joyce, and never follow up with a question? You know, hey, I want to sell my property. Well, it's the same thing. I'm the professional. Hey, you know, I did some preliminary work on this. These are all public record. I'm not pulling anything that anybody can't pull. But I'm going through with you. I have a question. You have this lien here, $975, but it looks like you refinanced 1.42 a year later. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Boom. So we 1.42. Now, have you paid down on that? Because that was only 8 years ago. How much did you put a big chunk? Where you at on that? Oh yeah, the payoff's this. Okay. So I'm eliminating all my questions ahead of time, and for them, they're going, dude, this guy's on top of his stuff.
Well, and especially out in like Sun City and stuff.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times that their properties have been paid off.
Yes.
And that there's still a lien on, because
Yeah, and if they don't know about it, they think, well, it's paid off.
It's paid off.
You've uncovered this.
Yeah.
Now they can go get it cleared.
Well, like, and Wells Fargo will charge you a $200 cancellation fee if they haven't released that, and we have to order a payoff for that seller. They charge $200 to cancel that file to issue their release.
When they didn't, they're charging you for not doing their job.
Yeah, they're charging the seller
And that's
again.
legal?
Oh yeah. And that's what's frustrating. So what you want to be able to anticipate those
Thanks
questions.
for letting me know. I got a Wells Fargo loan that I got to get rid of.
But
Yeah, it's, well, you want to
Make
make
sure
sure that issue, like when you go in and pay it off, okay, can I have a release,
lien
release
release.
recorded,
Yeah.
now. Because I come into that frequently with not just them, other lenders as well, that don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
Chase has done it, I've seen it from a while.
so how I would approach it,
Yeah.
to get back to that question we were doing the prelim here, is I would just go through, okay, here.
Yeah.
And there was a divorce, like I said in this particular session, there was a divorce, correct? And they're like, yeah, but we've since got back together. Okay, did you remarry, or is this divorce decree still out there? No, we remarried, have a new marriage certificate. Okay, so this is almost,
Yeah, that's.
oh, but I have a bankruptcy here. So yeah, we did that when we were divorced, we filed bankruptcy. Oh, by the way, this person just lost his job and he just filed bankruptcy. You do a short sale, it's like, oh my gosh, okay. Well, we've already told but it took us a long time to work through that. If I was doing a regular sale, and they said, I'm pulling it up, and I pulled one up, I was getting ready to go list the appointment, I was kind of weirded out by the guy, so I had Kendra pull it, like, it's clean as a whistle. All right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even worry.
You
So,
never know.
all I did is I popped it out, it's going through, I pulled a preliminary retirement report, looks good, we just have these two liens, this is ones you were telling me about on the phone, because also I'm verifying it, and he was like, yeah, that's it. And he went, all right, that's good. You mean, I was doing what I'm supposed to do.
So, which is important. Next, after the requirements page, it's the exceptions page.
Can I jump real quick there? So 20 and 21 on there.
Oh.
21 is their notes on there to record the deed of trust.
Yeah.
These are very common too. Most of these are pretty similar that you're going to see in a lot of these.
Yeah, the number 20 is just telling me to record the warranty deed, and then 21 is the deed of trust. Just telling me what I need to do.
So you're going to see these and you don't need to freak out about those.
Yeah, that's common. So the exceptions is one thing you want to look at.
Yes.
And a lot of people skip over this.
So this is the most important one.
Yeah.
Me right here, your requirements is 1A.
Yeah.
For us as agents, requirements is 1A, but title's nothing can happen
Yeah.
on there without doing the requirements.
Yeah.
But as agents, exceptions is the most important thing we need to look at.
Because we're accepting this stuff out of the policy. So we're not insuring this portion. So you need to know that there's items, taxes that are not due and payable, which that's very common. Of
Yes.
course, we're not going to pay
Yeah.
for 2014.
Right.
They're not out, and we don't know a bill. So we're going to accept that out. But we have to verify that 2013 is paid, and that is one of our requirements to issue the policy. So water rates, this is on every single prelim.
Yes.
Because there's nothing of record typically in Arizona on water rights. Unless it's irrigated land but typically it's within an infrastructure of a city.
Oh, okay.
So I do have a question. This is actually for a legitimate deal.
Yeah.
So we have a bank-owned property. One of our agents has a bank-owned property taken it back, and the next door neighbor is the one that sold the property to the gentleman for 5 acres. He split it up, sold him these different acres, but he said he retained all water rights. How would we be able to verify that?
You'd be able to look at the warranty deed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what we're. All right.
Yeah.
So you can. Yeah, that was kind of crazy because
Because usually there's
we have
in
no
the
water
legal
rights to this
description.
property.
In the legal description, that would usually typically say except for,
Okay.
because typically how they do minerals and
Yeah.
that type of and minerals and coal or
Right.
whatever they decide at that point. Water. That's where I would start.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if not, look and see if there's a water agreement of some sort.
Right. See,
Recorded.
that's what we went for is the well agreement. You can also search well agreements. You can pull those up. It's a really cool little map. But we started there and went, wait, there's no well agreement. And then I happened to go talk to the neighbor and he's like, yeah, I didn't give him water rights. I got all the paperwork. I'm like, so we have a property, 2 acres in the middle of
You
Whitman.
didn't give them
It has
any water rights?
no water rights. He reserved it so he couldn't put a well on this property. You know how hard it is to sell a property in the desert with no water? Sure.
Good luck to that.
Yeah.
We actually are under contract right now.
Okay.
But
Good.
Wow.
There.
it's very significantly discounted.
Yeah.
How come
Good.
there's no exemption for mineral rights?
Because it's
That's law.
It is law.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's mineral rights.
State.
yeah, the state does, especially on Native American or like on Native American land, the natives own it. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, but the state
Everything
has
else the state owns.
has claimed all
So
rights
if you
to
find
it.
gold in your
But
backyard,
unless there's
it's
an
theirs.
exemption,
Right.
because there's on some land they haven't exempted out the minerals. So no, it depends on your legal description.
well,
Yeah.
my niece's husband owns 7 gold mines. So he's
Yeah, so
bought the
he
rights
lets that,
to-
Yeah,
right.
so yeah,
do the mining.
And part of it is the state wants you to pay them to get those rights.
Yeah.
On certain-
Oh, yeah.
But there
Here.
is land that's been held for generations
yeah,
that has their rights.
but typically you'll see in most land transactions that it's
And what they did, another reason the state did it on that too is one of the things you don't see here that like you see in Tennessee or Kentucky, if you ever watch these reality shows, this guy putting his oil well right in his backyard or his front yard. You can't do that.
yeah, you can't do that.
That's why you don't see it.
Yeah,
In
St.
Texas.
Easements, restrictions, reservations, and conditions as set forth in the recorded plat of said subdivision.
You didn't bring a copy of that, did you? This plat map.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit this real quick.
Wait, yeah, would you do that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So as part of that, they're gonna send you, and I will say, you guys usually send it. I would say 95%. Every once in a while we won't get it, but you'll actually get a map. I'm just gonna show here. That'll show. Okay, I got 4 parcels. This legitimately happened to me. Okay, you drive out to the property. We got a house on this one. We got a house on this one. We got a house on this one. A house on this one. There's a little road that comes here. Road that comes out here, and then you got a big parcel of land over here. So you get a plat map, right? Looking at easements. Nobody filed the easement for the road. The only person that had legal ingress was this one when they did it.
How long has it been?
It was built in 2003, 2004.
So it's
Custom builder. Come through. So it's a bank-owned property. This is where easements come in. You want to look at your plat map and make sure that if you're selling it, if you're doing especially custom properties out in Whitman, Wickenburg, you're doing those type of deals, even you get out over here towards Carefree or New River, you've got to make sure that when they subdivided the land, that they gave the easement. So the problem was, I'm trying to sell this one here. This one's in foreclosure. This one's in foreclosure. This one's vacant.
And
We could not find this owner to get him. I would have to do, in order to get the easement signed, everybody would have to sign. So this guy would have to release it to this guy, would have to release it to this guy, would have to release it to this guy. Bank of America owns this property now. So again, this is where, when you're doing, for bank owned, I would always call my title person right away going, give me a plat map and easement. So with easements, it's not only that, that's your ingress egress. So you're looking at the map and going, great, except they'll put on here, no easement on record. So the only way we got this property sold was we had to take it from the title company that the bank had hired, because the bank's always hired a title company, and we had to go to the original title company that insured it and did it all, and they had to insure it because they're the ones that insured it the first time. So, but that's where the easements come in, so everybody gets the plat map and it
So
cracks
then
me up
what-
and they ignore it.
So then once that is no longer owned by only banks,
Yes,
you could go in and
And
get
have
the
everybody-
easement for the road, but because I deal with HUD
Yeah.
homes, and I just had this issue on one, they had to sell the property next door that was also a bank owned prior to, in order
Yeah.
for the whole road to get them, and because the banks then won't.
And that's
Okay.
why you have title insurance, to go
Correct.
back to the original title company.
And that's what they had to do.
and that's
they were
what we had
able
to do. And we were able to get it recorded and sold, because, again, this one was vacant in foreclosure, so a different entity owned it. A different entity owned this one. This one was actually still owned by somebody, but they lived in France and nobody could find them. We
Oh my
couldn't find-
gosh.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how much work. So sometimes being a realtor, you get to be a detective too.
Uh-huh.
Did a lot of work on this one, and like I said, you have to be careful even out in Whitman, because there's main roads on there, and you'll see a dirt road. You're thinking that's a legitimate road,
Yeah.
and it may be a road that's been common used, but it's not an actually filed easement proper road.
But
So-
if it's been there for 20 years, you can go to court and get it filed as a.
Easement by necessity.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I know exactly
I know
what
what
you're
you're
saying.
talking
Yeah.
about. But it's ingress and egress, basically.
Right.
You're requesting
It's
because
become a common area.
Yeah, because you've used that road for so
So-
many years as your.
And again, with
Yeah.
easements too, let's say you have a property you're getting ready to list, and you notice that, hey, I've got this vacant land, just, Tanya has a couple pieces of vacant land out there. So you got this vacant land out here, and over here's the school, and all the kids walk across here to get to school. So the school could actually go back and get that easement filed against you. So if you're going to list that land and you see that you've got people commonly using the trail, and you'll see this, okay, most of you guys live, except for you, over 83rd Avenue in Deer Valley. So when you take that 83rd Deer Valley and you kind of hit Beardsley where Lake Pleasant slopes around, you have the Wells Fargo over there, and you notice there's a vacant lot that's been there forever on the, what is that?
In front of the
So
daycare.
what's interesting about it is a lot of times that lot just sits empty. They'll put Christmas trees on there, they'll rent it out. It just sits empty. Did you notice recently it's been fenced?
Yep.
The reason they fence it is to prevent this so that nobody can claim to their property. And then they'll take the fence down eventually and then they'll put it back up. But people were starting to cut from the light across the lot to get to the shopping area. Then if you let that go on too long, you
The
could lose
state,
your property.
yeah, the city could have claimed it at
Yeah.
that point. Saying, yeah.
So that's where
Jerry?
easements come in. That you should read your plat maps and your easements just to make sure, because again, especially custom lots, if it's a subdivision, like right here, don't worry about it. West Wing, you're not
Yeah.
worried about it. These are
It's
for your
more for
more
meets and
custom.
bounds.
Yeah.
For meets and bounds type things. Covenants and restrictions, that's your CCNRs. That's for an HOA, that's what we send out. Because not only does the HOA send that out once we order it on, obviously ordering, once the day we open escrow, we order it within 24 hours. But we
Escrow
also,
orders it or the agency?
Escrow.
Escrow does?
Yeah.
we order it. So we order it at that time, and then, but we, along with our prelim, receive the CCNRs. So from our title department, because we have a master list of them all. So we send them out to your buyer as well, so that they get a set from us. Because I know that they have the 5 days to review.
Mhm.
So we try and get them out because HOA takes 10 days.
You want your buyer, as a
Or
seller,
longer.
you want the buyer
Yeah.
to make sure they get it within that
Yes.
10-day inspection period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
They have a
just,
special vehicle or anything. They want to
Yes.
be able to park.
Uh-huh.
Not a boat or a.
yeah. Or if they want to
Don't
paint their
park on the
house, if
street.
they want to paint their house pink.
Or
You know?
even worse
Or
than that.
paint it the same color, you've
Yeah.
gotta get authorization just
You
to
do.
paint it the same color as it is
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Oh, there.
Well, here's another one too that you want to know when you're going to sell a property. That if you can get the CCNRs on there too. I'm really big on the title report, but if you can request the CCNRs on there,
I've done it for you guys on a couple.
yeah, and here's why. Because we have those when I go like West Wing. Okay, so when you come into West Wing, there's a little subdivision just off to the east when you first come into West Wing. That little section, and I forget who built those there. It's still West Wing, but you make a right at the four-way stop or the three-way stop, and then you go into that little
Yeah,
subdivision.
but that's not part of West Wing, as I recall.
It is because
It is?
I sold a property in there on Molly on that, but
Oh,
Yeah.
that's Angle Homes.
yeah, Angle Homes over there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
what's interesting
My
about
house
that,
is just down the street.
yeah, so those Angle Homes over there is some of them are being required to be painted right now, and that's part of the
Well, I
HOA.
remember it was in
Yes.
it was in the demand statement.
That
So-
we had to have it painted within such a period of time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that on a prelim for a listing, that's really important because maybe you want to lay a painting allowance or you want your seller to go ahead and do it
Yeah,
because it makes it better. But you can now have a strategy involved and explain it to your seller because it does affect buyers.
Yep. So the next one is, and this is common on short sales, it's just on this, but deed restriction prohibiting certain resale transactions. A lot of times the short sale lenders now are implementing a rule that the property cannot be transferred for 90 days for over 120% of the amount purchased. So, and on our warranty deed, we have to provide proof that we've implemented that on the actual warranty deed for transfer. And so they would have recourse to go back after the purchaser for any additional funds in the event they broke and they'd be able to go back after the title
That's
company
to
for not.
restrict-
Right.
That's to
Yeah.
restrict the investors from buying it and flipping it.
Yeah.
Well, and plus they're trying to make sure they're getting true market value.
Yeah.
That's the main reason. The reason they're releasing it for a short sale is they're saying you can't sell it for right now because you're underwater. You know, you don't meet market value. But this is our assurance that you sold it at market value, not discounted.
Yeah.
That's why.
So that is a prelim to the next couple pages are just.
Yeah, just the legal. So
Probably.
when you get your prelim, and Amber sent you the email that says, "Hey, you're missing your prelim title report. It's sure closed, or we need a copy of this." As brokers, we're going through. We want you to review this because, again, this is where it can open up B&O claims and everything else for you. This is your kind of, like I said, your leads for like Scooby-Doo and Mystery Machine, trying to figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'll Scooby snack you when you find a good one and say, look, I'm serious. I mean, 'cause this is the fun part of real estate to me is when you find this stuff. But you need to address it right now because what will happen is, and again, I'm not saying Kendra because Kendra's really good, which is why I use her, but there are other escrow officers when you deal with them, especially when you were dealing bank owned or a seller demands you to use their escrow company, and sometimes it's like, okay, hey, oh, good question, quiz, who gets to pick the title company?
The seller.
eBay.
Buyer.
Buyer, and it's actually a RESPA. So
So
here's
why on all of the planos it says?
because we're trying to take care of our good escrow officers.
And your name is
All over it. Oh yeah. You always try. I put it on all my.
Well, now at least they say you may use.
Yes, you may.
And they used to say use.
Yeah, now typically it says on their title already open for the
Exactly.
prelim has been
Which is what I do. That's why I always ask a prelim. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
Please use Kendra because I've already opened escrow.
That's-
Now,
So what if the buyers say, well, we don't want to use that company, we're
Okay.
going to use this other company?
so
Then
that
what?
comes into it. You have to be very careful on how you do that. So especially if you're listening, because I've set up agents on this and very prominent agents, and there's one that used to work with me at this particular place that's immigrated from a little small island overseas. You know what I'm talking about,
Oh,
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
he required me to use his, and we were working at the same company. We required me to use his title company. And I have an FHA buyer. I said, okay, great. We were asking for 3% closing costs. I went back and renegotiated, said, okay, you're insisting he countered in the counter, his title company, FHA loan. I said, okay, we're going to come here. We only need 1.5% closing costs. I think it's 1.5 or 2. I knocked 1% off. Said, okay, cool. Came to a deal agreement. Get the HUD, and he goes, I go call up the escrow officer going, this is wrong. All title fees and escrow fees need to be paid by the seller. She's like, no, that's not how we use this. And I said, no, RESPA. RESPA says that if you're doing a federally insured loan, the buyer cannot be forced to. They have to be able to pick their own title insurance. If not, the seller has to pay all those fees. And that agent was not happy with me. But we went and had a beer later, and he goes, that was good. I said, know your rules. And I guarantee you, and she knows him, he knows his rules better than anybody else. Yeah. And that was a learning statement on it. And I was a brand new agent, and he'd been doing it a long time.
So, there, yep.
But me and him are good friends to that day because of that. Because it's like, listen, you want to do that. So I always open escrow. But if you're on the listing side, and somebody's going to try to force it, and it's conventional, by all means, fire. You can push it all day. But if that's an FHA VA, I would think twice.
Yeah,
okay.
And I always say, I always tell all my agents, I'm like, don't lose a deal at all. I would never. It's like, you know what? I don't care if I did the work of the prelim. You know what? I retain enough of your business that I'm good. Like,
but you have to be careful. So that's the one thing. Buyer gets to pick. Mm-hmm. So when you're a buyer and they say use this escrow company, never do that. Use yours. That's my opinion. And if it becomes a fight, then it depends on how much they want to fight.
What about if it's a bank owned?
Bank owned, you don't get to pick.
Yeah.
And here's why. The bank owned, and this is what I used to explain with bank owned. The bank owned, you don't get to pick as a buyer, and rest was kind of looked the other way on that. Yeah. And the reason for that is because those title companies have on record who can sign on behalf of the bank, who can sign the contract, who can sign the transfer deed, because it's not just one person you're dealing with. So it becomes a convenience standpoint for the buyer too.
Well, and I did Fannie Mae at the previous company I worked for, and I did a lot of.
She did a lot of our people.
Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you now that I'm at the First Arizona, we don't have a Fannie Mae account, so I don't have the resources readily available like I did there. Have I done a couple? Yeah. Have they been more difficult?
Yeah.
Yes, but. I understand. He's totally accurate. It's like they have everything they need at their fingertips. Mm-hmm. It took me so much longer to get the items I needed.
And for the banks, it's just
but now HUD now has buyer's choice. Yes. And I'm on my 6th HUD this year already, and I have those down.
Nice. And that's another reason you've got a buyer and you're using someone like Kendra that's got that versus trying to use somebody else. Like, okay.
Yeah. Different reasons. I'm going to do a little pop quiz.
I'm ready.
I can.
I'm so competitive.
I cannot buy property as my sole and separate estate if I'm separated.
Is that true or false?
True or false?
True or false? Can you buy property as your sole and separate property without your spouse if you're separated and legally separated?
Without his permission?
Legal
Her
separation.
spouse's permission? I'd say no.
I'd say no.
False.
I'm going to say false too, yeah.
False.
Can't.
That spouse has to be willing to sign a disclaimer deed, regardless, because we're a community property state. So, because of the fact that we're a community property state, that spouse has to disclaim their interest in the property.
And again, here's where it comes back to divorce situations. I'm going to hammer this one home for you guys because
I've never been divorced.
I haven't either. I've been married 20 years, never going to get divorced.
I love your wife.
But here's the issue: there's so many people that go through it, and they've been remarried, and what we're coming off of is our worst ever market. So what's happened is you've got people that have been divorced, and disclaimer deeds are huge. So you've got to try to take care of those disclaimer deeds up front if possible. So they had a divorce decree, they've been separated, they've been divorced, they got divorced in 2009 when the market was, nobody could do anything with this property. Property's got equity now, and the husband and the new wife's going, I don't want to live in this house because this is where your ex-wife lives. And I don't know. I'm telling you, that's how it works. And I've sat across there going, yes, I understand. And So they want to do it, and if you don't have the right divorce decrees, you might as well go get that disclaimer deed signed up front.
Well, and a lot of times too, you'll find that people who bought from REO properties,
Yeah.
And when REOs didn't always necessarily use title insurance, they used other title
Yeah.
companies in other states, they didn't have discount somebody
Yeah.
signed at the closing.
You
So
get issues.
yeah, so that's just another red flag to be aware of, that that spouse sometimes you have to look back and find. True or false? Can I use a power of attorney if the principal is dead?
No.
I know. That's
I
why Joyce is right around the corner when you have those questions. You go
I
to
have
Joyce.
people try. I just had somebody try it.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a trust or an executor, right?
Or the letter of testimony.
Yeah.
Power of attorney is only to transfer your power to that
Well,
person
you're
when they're
living.
alive.
Yeah,
before that.
exactly.
And there has to be a set limit to that timeline. Here's the other one. I'm going to
That's
hit you
false.
one more that you're going to need. You get years of experience with escrow here. So if your principals are dead, guess what you have to have in order to get this released?
That's
Death certificate.
Certified copy.
Certified original copy.
And you have to record.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, actually, I record it.
She records it.
Oh,
But
okay.
you have to have the original.
Mhm.
So I've had it too many times where
They give
I
you
got a copy and it's like, no. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
they
we
want
need that.
it. They
You
need
have-
contact.
They have dozens of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even
I've
to
had to
change your
get- yeah.
clocks,
I've had to get them
Yeah,
from
so you need to
Alaska.
contact Vital Records.
People weren't even married.
Yeah, oh my
But in
God.
order for her to get the property
They were
to sell
joint
it,
tenants as right,
right,
survivorship.
I had to get them the county up there
Yeah,
in
I'm telling
Alaska
you.
to send it.
And Joyce can attest to this. Our counties are pretty good. Some of these other
Yeah,
counties,
oh.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Even-
So
Not
again,
so good.
prelim, you're dealing with somebody that's passed away and you're selling it for the kids. Make sure they start working on that while you're
Yes.
getting it done.
But Jerry and I have one right now.
Yes.
Yep.
And at least I have all that.
Yes, exactly. So, so here's one. If there is a road to the property, does that mean there is access?
No.
See example, no.
So it's false. There are different types of access. There is physical access, meaning that you can get to the property,
Yep.
but it may not be over property whose owner hasn't given anyone right to use the property. There is insurable access, where a title company insures the buyer that he has legal access to the property. So that's, you want legal.
Very good.
So true or false, is there, if there are no CCNRs on the property, I can subdivide it into as many lots as I want. So,
Whew. I'm going to say false. That was actually a pretty good one. But I'm going to say the state's got to limit you
I
some.
thought there was
very good.
more land.
It's false. It is the AZ Department of Real Estate has specific rules, and the agent should consult with the broker for the knowledge of, with the knowledge of real estate attorney.
Yes. And when we pull out a real estate book, it can be on the phone with the real estate attorney. But yes, you have to be careful on that one.
Yeah. A title company will insure a landlocked property.
Will they?
Will they? True
No.
or false?
False.
False.
You
Oh, actually, true. Sorry. No,
you guys
that's-
will?
Yeah.
How
it
will you
says-
do a landlocked property?
Yeah, he says, I'm sorry, this is ring sensors. It's saying, yes, but they won't ensure that you have access to the property.
Oh, so they're insured.
Yeah.
So you're still
So,
owed.
yeah,
because
you're still
you can get it done, but you still have
Okay,
access. So it's like, wait
Yeah.
a second.
I was like, wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
We have the bungee from
Yeah.
the bridge that goes over the property. You just fall until you're done, and you cut the strap. You're good to go.
Oh, that's the one I missed. Oh, I do
Okay.
not have to file a real estate report if I'm selling 10 lots.
Well,
Tremonti-Nando.
yeah, I was gonna say.
That was back, trying to remember back on that, I believe that's false, because you do
Yeah,
have to file
false.
a
Yes.
real estate report,
You
right?
do. You do.
And the key word in that they should have had is in the same subdivision.
In the same
You didn't say yes.
Yeah.
You could have 10 lots throughout the state, and you can sell them all
Right.
day, and you don't have to have a report.
Right.
But if they're in
In
the
the
same
same
subdivision.
Um,
So your uncle, who only has 2 lots up there, doesn't have to do a public report. But if he had more
Right,
than
yes,
6
right.
up in that little area up there, he would have to actually get a public
Even
report.
if they weren't in the
Number
same subdivision?
If they were in the same subdivision. If they were all in that same
Oh, okay.
subdivision.
Number 6, not 8.
Yeah,
I was
six.
thinking it was 8. Okay.
6. 6 is the key.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 through 5.
So, and then I gave you guys, so that's,
Number 7 is true.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It
I'm
is.
like, what would it-
That's the one we. That's the one we just went through.
Drama. I like that.
Escrow drama. And there is, and like I said, this is my years of experience. Like I said, I just run out my numbers. 672 properties in the last 3 years. I'm telling you, doing all these properties, there's escrow agents that just don't communicate this to you, and you've got to find it out. Or they communicate it to you 3 days before you're supposed to close. And people have already made plans, and if you want to deal with some drama,
Yeah,
that's escrow drama.
then you have PO
Yeah.
people.
definitely. So that pretty much is my, I give you some additional reading material as well. I mean, just kind of.
Cool. I'm gonna go a couple real quick
Yeah,
things,
that's
and then
what
we're
I
gonna
was
be finished here. We're doing pretty good time wise. We got 3 minutes. Anyway, escrow. Who opens escrow?
The buyer. The agent.
The agent for the buyer. Can the listing agent open escrow?
You guys do?
Well,
And
you
for
can.
Kendra.
Yes, you can. You can. So, what do you need to open escrow?
A check.
No, that checks out. This is part of it. What do you need?
Permission from the seller or the buyer.
Contract.
Preliminary
You have to
report?
have an
Contract.
executed contract and all the addendums. You just send it over. And you say, here you go, email it. The earnest deposit has to be done when?
Wait a minute, I thought you said earlier that we were gonna call a preliminary
Yes.
report.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's for your
Sure.
listing.
That's for your
Yeah,
listing.
For your listing.
So you okay, I'm sorry. Escrow
So
is,
you're actually opening up escrow
Yeah,
by doing that, right?
Yeah.
Because you say you are.
correct. Mhm.
Okay,
But let's say now you negotiate your contract and they use, maybe not Kendra, somebody else.
Yeah. it's
But if they
Title
use,
ABC.
so here's the thing on a listing agent, since we've been doing listings. I always like it, let's say we came to an agreement, buyer picked ABZ title company. I send it over to them right away and say, please open escrow, here's a copy of the contract, send me preliminary title reports, blah, 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 blah. Can you let me know when buyers deposit earnest money? Okay, so how long do they have to deposit earnest money?
3 days. Immediately.
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 It's
As
immediately.
soon as possible.
What's the definition of immediately?
Guess
Well,
they
as
get-
soon as practical, it's first business day, what's that?
It's supposed to be on
Within
here.
24 hours.
It's supposed to be within 24 hours, next business days they're open. Telling you from experience, there are agents that don't do that. So I will do this, and I learned this one the hard way. So again, I'm giving you my hard knocks the way I learned it, so you guys will have to do it. Bank owned property, cash deal, $40,000 property. We had multiple offers, drove the price up to, I think it was like $62,000, right? 62,000, very small, but back in the day, 62,000 had 14 offers on it, all cash. The one that got accepted was putting $20,000 in earnest deposits down. So boom, open up escrow. Again, not dealing with good title people. I'm going to say it because they didn't communicate. Calling up, going, yeah, we're supposed to close in 15 days. I haven't heard anything. We've been 10 days. What's going on? I'm trying to get my paperwork turned in, and this is generally what happens. And I'm going to admit, I'm trying to turn my paperwork in the office. I don't see my earnest money receipt. Can you see my earnest money receipt? Title company. Oh yeah, no problem. Let me send that to you. I get it over to you. Okay, boom, boom, boom. I'm working away. End of the day, going, oh, I got it. Hey, you want to send that over to me? Oh, yeah, let me send that over to you. Never get it. Next day, call up going, hey, I never got my earnest money receipt. Oh, I thought I sent that to you. Let me look that up. It's the earnest money receipt. You're 10 days in escrow. Anybody think there's an issue?
Yeah.
No. That's what I said. There was an issue. Oh, they never opened. They never deposited the earnest money. They opened escrow because it's bank owned. I set it up. So as a listing agent now, I always send it. So I call up the agent. Hey, your guy didn't deposit earnest money. We need to go through and do this. Oh, you know what? We're not sure if we're going to go to the property now. So do that. Oh, well, you're past your inspection period. She's like, oh, well, we're not depositing earnest money. I said, oh, good. They got a lot of lawyers. They'll be suing you. 20 grand. That's a third of the price of the house. That's worth a couple of attorneys going after it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not an issue. I mean, it's a bank. They got plenty of attorneys, so they're going to sue you for that.
Sure.
And
You want to know how fast we got earnest money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wired next day. It was there.
Yep.
Closed 2 days later. But here's the thing. So
Good.
with us as listing agents, I always like to send it over now and say, hey, here's escrow, it's open. Let me know when I get the earnest money receipt. So that way I'm not relying on a buyer's agent who may have another appointment, could be distracted. I know we have a buyer's agent that I know of that kind of had earnest money for a week and never got it dropped off to title because she had a lot of appointments going on. And wait a second. you
Contact
can't do
title.
that.
So one thing I'll tell you as a good example. I have a lot of agents who will put me on the email. It's the listing agent and the selling agent, and say, please find the executed contract attached. Please notify me once earnest money is picked up, or whatever. And then
Right.
I usually reply back saying, please let me know if you need me a courier to have this picked up, or if you need wire instructions. That way it gives me an in to contact them
I
right
just go
away.
ahead, please send the wiring instructions.
Yeah.
Wiring instructions is always good.
It's like, so that way, but it gives me an opening to that other agent to
Yeah.
say, how are we getting this money?
So I'm going to go over real quick here too, just to finish up. Courier. So let's say you come in the office, you got everything executed. We did it over the weekend. Woo-hoo, Tanya or Leo, I'm doing the dance with you. We make our copies of all the contracts, all the necessary paperwork. We put the earnest money, the check that the buyer gave us, made out to the title company, not to the brokerage, it's made out to the title company. We put it attached there. The other thing is, you put your business card. We have envelopes, you put it in the envelope, say, attention, Kendra, first there's no title, leave it with Amber, and they'll come pick it up. You don't even have to drive around anywhere, you take care of all your paperwork, do that. That's one of my favorite ways. I say that. I used to be that way all the time now. But Kendra's office is right here at 83rd and Bell. So now on my way home, Kendra,
Yeah.
Kendra, ask her. I'm always in there fucking 5 o'clock. I want to go home. Sorry, here, open escrow. I'm on my way home.
You're so nice.
I know.
Gary.
I'm there until 6. Don't let him leave at least.
I've been calling her. I've called her Thursday at like 5:30. You still at the office? Can I come over and drop this off? I'm running late.
Yeah,
So-
or I've driven by his house picking up my daughter.
Yeah.
I picked it up when he was mowing the lawn.
Her daughter's best friend's like right down the street from me. She's driving by. Wait, I have an escrow that needs to be open. So there are ways to do that, but
As long as the kids are headed straight home and not down to the soda.
here's the bad part about that one. I'm out there mowing the yard. I'm out there sweating. I was talking to Kendra. Hey, how's it going? And, our kids go to school together, and I'm like, wait a second, I got an escrow. Kid, go give me that paperwork. Kendra's like, oh, great.
See, we did it anyway. So we help any way we can.
And I will say, and again, as an agent, as a brokerage, we're not telling you who to use as escrow officers. And we've told you that time and time again. Vivian does their marketing. Kendra does the escrow. But I'm telling you, from my years of experience, there's not too many that are better than Kendra. And how long did you solicit me trying to get me to use you before me and John ever gave you an escrow?
Years.
It was about 2 years.
I'm like,
It was a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
And believe me, the
Wow.
person that we used before was extremely good too. I mean, she'd been in it a long
if
time.
she hadn't retired, I hadn't went
Yeah,
there.
And the sad thing is
You
that
gotta bump them off.
No.
Kendra now works for, and here's the thing with escrow officers, because I have very high standards, so does John. We expect communication, we expect, and you guys should have your standards too when you're going out to do this. Have your standards. But I'm like I said, I'm going to brag on Kendra just a little bit here. But after the person we used retired, Kendra now works with the person that took over that person's escrows. And we used her for a few of those and went, it's just not the service we're looking for. Gave Kendra a shot. I went, wow, this is great. Of course, they were at different companies now. They're in the same company. And I come in to go give Kendra an escrow, and I get somebody else looking at me. I go, oh, God, I feel bad, but give this to Kendra. But there's no hard feelings. And First Arizona has done a good job with Tammy and them of recruiting really good escrow officers. So if you want to interview Kendra, Kim Stambridge is excellent over there. Marissa's good over there. And I've used all of them. So I do like that. And our big thing is if you're going to use a marketing arm, you need to use their escrow officers. That's always the thing. And that's how they make their money. That's the reason they help us, is they want you to have many escrows, so they go to their escrow officers.
Yep.
And that's why
Yeah, and
they do
like
that.
I said, if feel free to, I'll answer any questions. If I'm not a fit for you, I'll find someone in my office who is.
And they do have
So,
Spanish speaking escrow officers there too.
My assistant is fully bilingual, Maurice's assistant is fully bilingual, and Vivian is fully bilingual.
And here's the other, I'm gonna go one more thing on that too, is, it's a good point. A lot of times you will end up dealing with the assistants. Some assistants are good, some assistants aren't so good. Don't be afraid to tell your escrow officer that, hey, I'm having an issue with the assistant.
Yeah.
Because, I know I've told Kendra in the past on certain assistants, I don't get along with this person.
Yeah.
Don't have them call me.
Yeah.
So Kendra calls me.
Yeah.
And she needs to know that because
Yeah.
there are personality conflicts in this industry.
Yeah. So, yeah.
With you?
Yeah, they're hard to believe.
Well, just remember, we can't fix a problem if we don't know it's
Yes.
broken.
So,
That's it. It's like, and we strive to, like, First Arizona Title, one of our main things is customer service. So, I mean, and that's been my motto throughout my career, but everyone in that office is the same way. So we want to know.
excellent.
So thank you guys.
Before I go.
For,
Oh, cool.
Get preliminary.
if you have, you're welcome. If you have any questions
Okay.
on anything, feel free to call me. Yep.
Because we want to find out about the easements and everything on that.
Even if, and believe
This is
me,
the
I have
property.
agents who have deals at other title companies that weren't able to direct to me, and I get phone calls on other questions because